Christian action is to live your life in a way that others see that you don't just exist, but like the lyrics say, you offer your love for humanity. You open your arms for the brokenhearted, even the ones that you know are beyond your reach. Now, I've got a friend that he's been struggling with drugs and alcohol for several years. His wife left him. He's broke. After a positive drug test at work, he lost his job. His friends abandoned him. Even I distanced myself from him because I'm a good Christian, and good Christians don't hang out with people like that. Right? So I get a phone call to my buddy. He hit rock bottom. So now who am I? Am I the priest? Am I the temple assistant, or am I the Samaritan? So I call my buddy up. And I'm like, man, I hear you going through an awful time, and I haven't been there for you, and I apologize, but you know what? I'm here now. Is there anything I can do? And there's silence, and he starts to tell me, he just got this void, this emptiness in his life, and no matter what he tries, he just can't fill it, and he tries to drink it full, and he tries to do drugs to fill it, and no matter how much he drinks and how many drugs he does, nothing fills that void. And I opened my heart to him, and I was like, I've never dealt with these addiction problems that you're talking about. I've had the issues with drugs and alcohol, but you said something that rings so true to me. And that's that I had that same void, that same emptiness, until I found Christ. And I started to tell him about the amazing things that God's doing in my life, and just telling him the amazing things that the way that he's changed my family, and my buddy starts asking questions, and I'm answering them as well as you can. But you see, at this point, I'd been a Christian for 4 months. So I'm stumbling through it, but I'm trying to answer them as well as I can. And the conversation starts to dwindle down there, but you guys want the happy ending, right? The big climax to the story. So did my friend accept Christ that night? No. And the last I heard, he still hasn't. But I tell you this, something did happen that night. That when I opened my heart to him, when I started to tell him about the amazing things that God's doing in my life, a seed was planted. A seed was planted that I hope will spark some curiosity for my friend. I want to say that again, but a seed was planted that I have faith will spark some curiosity for my friend. A seed was planted that I have faith that others will come and they'll water that seed and nurture that seed and encourage that seed to grow. And they'll tell him about the amazing things God's doing in their life. And I have faith that one day that my friend will find Christ. There you go. 1 Corinthians 3:6-9 says, I planted the seeds in your heart and Apollos watered them. It makes no difference who does the planting and who does the watering. What's important is that God made that seed grow. So what that means for us as Christians is that my job is not to save people. My job is simply just to plant those seeds, to tell others about the amazing things that my God does, is to show them God's love and leave the saving up to God. I can think back to times in my life when those seeds were planted on me. But I didn't want nothing to do with that. I was in control. I was running my life. See, I had my agenda. Let me tell you guys a little bit about my agendas. When I was in high school, I sat down one day and I wrote out every one of my life goals. Every hope and every dream that I had ever hoped to accomplish over the course of my entire life, I took and I just wrote them all out. And at the age of 27, I marked off the last goal. 27. There's a few young people in here. I know right now you're like, man, that guy's old now. But for me to accomplish everything that I ever hoped or dreamt to accomplish over my entire life. To do that by the age of 27, for me, that was a pretty big deal. So I'm living the perfect American life. I've got everything. I've got everything. I got the career I always wanted. I've got an awesome wife and 2 crazy kids and a nice home and nice cars and nice stuff, and I'm still just unfulfilled. Unfulfilled. I'm unfulfilled? I should be at the top of my game. I should be on cloud 9. This should be the best years of my life, and I'm unfulfilled? And I start thinking about this, and I'm turning this over in my head, and I can only come up with 2 reasons for why I feel this way. You see, and reason number 1 is that the way I feel is the way everyone feels. It's just you're not willing to admit it. You see that Hollywood's painted this picture of what the perfect life is supposed to look like, except they put it on a pedestal that's so high that it's just unattainable. So for me to think that this is as good as it's going to get, that this is the climax of my life, I just don't like option number 1. But the only thing I can come up with for option number 2, for the reason that I feel this way, the only thing I can come up with that maybe is what's missing is that God thing. But you see, for me, I thought I had been running my life. I thought I was in control. And after being that mindset for so long, for me just to close my eyes and just to take that leap of faith and say, God, I'm not in charge anymore. You take it. You put me where you need me. You're in control. I don't know that I can do that. And so again, I'm thinking about this and turning this over in my head, and I'm trying to rationalize it all out. I'm at work one day, and one of my buddies comes up to me. He goes, Chris, I got something for you. And I'm like, fantastic. He goes, well, I got something I need for you to do. And I'm like, no problem. I was like, you let me know when and where. I'll be there. I'll help you out. It's no big deal. He goes, I'm so glad you feel that way because I want you to go on the walk to Emmaus. And I went, what? And I'm like, that's Jesus camp, right? And he kind of laughed. He's like, well, kind of, yeah. I'm like, I just don't know. I just don't know that that's for me. But I promised him that I would think about it. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I just can't stand thinking that this is the way I'm going to feel forever. I keep going back to this feeling of being unfulfilled, and I just can't think this is the way it's going to be. And so I decided I'd go. And I decided that when I go, that I was going to jump into that weekend the same way I jumped into my agenda. That I was going to give everything to that weekend just like I gave everything to my agenda. Because I wanted to see if this God thing was real. And it was over the course of my weekend, I did find Christ. And I began that process of turning my life over to Him. Finally, right? The climax, the happy ending that you guys have been waiting for? Kinda, yeah. But see, for me, what's more important than that even is now I go back to work, and that same buddy of mine, now he's encouraging me. He's encouraging me to read my Bible. He's encouraging me to really study the Scripture. He's encouraging me to spend time in prayer. He's encouraging me to go out and to start talking to other people. He's encouraging me to come out and tell my story. He's encouraging me to be here tonight.